My trip across the Trans-Taiga was a 4,000 kilometer round trip where 1,400 kilometers of that was on broken, unpaved gravel road. I've been getting questions concerning my vehicle modifications on how I took that trip. So what I've done is made a compilation of that trip, followed by some details concerning the modifications I made for my vehicle, my 2007 FJ Cruiser, prior to going on that excursion. I hope you enjoy. I recently had the opportunity to travel to the most remote location accessible by road in all of North America, and that is along the Trans-Taiga route at Caniapiscau in Quebec. The nearest town is 745 kilometers away, the furthest away that anyone can be from any town anywhere in North America. The road is gravel/dirt rock road, and you need to prepare because there are no service stations there other than one outfitter for hunting lodges that has some gas and gas tanks. So you need to bring your own gas and of course all of your own provisions. In order to start the journey, I had to start from Montreal and get to the starting off point, which is a little bit closer to the beginning of the James Bay Road, and that would be a ghost town called Joutel. As you can see, just the roads. There are no houses left over. It is still considered a ghost town because all the roads, the sidewalks, everything else still exists there. Pick your place and sleep there for the night, and makes a perfect starting point for the road to Caniapiscau. When you start, you have to go up the James Bay Road. That road now is called the Billy Diamond Highway. The road is in fair condition. In some places it is quite poor, but there is some construction going on in order to repair the roads, which make them pretty nice. Although it is very, very remote. Along this road you have access to beautiful lakes, rivers, and viewpoints that are quite breathtaking. One of the most attractive is at the Rupert River, where you see the Rupert River Rapids. I've been told that these rapids were much more impressive before the hydro project that dammed up the reservoirs up north even further blocked the water. Continuing further north along the road, you'll finally get to the Trans-Taiga pull-off. It's about 75 kilometers south of Radisson, the northernmost town in Quebec that you can reach by road. The road starts off in very good condition for a gravel road. But as the trail goes on, the further you go into the 700 kilometers, the more rough the road becomes. Some beautiful scenery, some Cambrian rocks about 3 billion years old, and of course lakes, rivers, and trees. One notable thing about the Trans-Taiga is that lands are made up of largely lichens and small spruce conifers. You'll still have access here to some beautiful scenery where you can camp and no one else is around you. And the deeper you go, the more pristine, the more untouched the land is. You do see some Cree Nation hunting lodges along the way. And there are some lookouts, including this star observatory, that you can actually go in and attach your own telescope to, use it to gaze the stars. Or you can just do it the old-fashioned way and just look out the observation deck. The last leg is the roughest. It's not terrible. Could you do it in an SUV? Yes, you definitely could do it in an SUV. However, you probably will have to control your speed. You have to have good suspension and make sure your tires are in good condition. Also, of course, have spares. When you get to Caniapiscau, you can drive behind the dams. It's kind of impressive knowing that all that's stopping trillions of liters of water is some rocks and dirt. At the end of the road, you get some of the most beautiful camping, some of the most isolated locations you could be by road. No one else around, completely silent. And just beautiful. One more thing to mention here is that's how high the sun gets during the day, because you're at the 55th parallel. Just for context, the Arctic Circle is at the 66th parallel. And the weather changes very quickly. Be enjoying the day, have a warm day, enjoying the sun. One moment, a few hours later, fog clouds will roll in and just change everything up. I'm told that that's very common up in the northern latitudes. If you're interested in driving this route, be prepared for it. Make sure you bring your own gas, some spares, some extra tools, some extra parts, water, of course, and a good sense of adventure. Hi, I'm going to give a rundown on the adventure vehicle I built for my trip to Caniapiscau, and this is what I did to prepare for that trip. The vehicle is a 2007 Toyota FJ Cruiser, and I went with Toyota because I wanted to make sure I had a very reliable vehicle. I bought it about 5 years ago, and I slowly made a couple of adjustments to its stock form. At the moment, it has some winter tires and steel rims on. I did add a 2.5-inch Bilstein shock lift. I did that a couple of years ago because the suspension needed upgrading, and I didn't want to go too much higher than that because the most important thing for me, especially for this trip, was reliability. Yes, I can make it look really cool with big lift, big tires, body mount chops, all that stuff, but I didn't want to do that because I wanted to make the least amount of configurations needed if I had to pull in somewhere to get something fixed or to get parts, or simply because I just wanted to avoid adding more complexity. I wanted to make sure I kept it at stock form as much as possible. I did remove the steps and I did add rock rails. Some of the locations I've been to do have large rocks that can damage the side body panel. But other than that, the truck itself is essentially in stock form. Now you'll notice I don't have a winch in the front, but I do have a winch that will be mounted, that can be mounted to the hitch. I have access to a winch if needed. What I did do is I did add a secondary battery that is completely isolated from my main battery. Now, I know I can get a DC to DC charger in order to charge the secondary battery, which I can run some accessories like a fridge, so I can charge a portable electric generator. But I also wanted to make sure that I was able to, number one, use this battery. If I needed to run my winch, I would rather use this battery than use my main battery. And secondly, this is not a lithium-ion battery, again for the same reason, because I needed the high amperage to run a winch just in case. On top of that, I keep it stored underneath the hood where the temperatures can get hot, and high temperatures do not go well with lithium batteries. So this is a conventional lead acid battery. It's a no maintenance battery, and also it can double as a booster for that battery in case my car battery does die. Now you notice here, how do I keep it charged? Well, this is connected to this solar panel that is on the roof, that's permanently mounted to my roof rack. And so that is a 100-watt solar panel, and I have an MPPE controller connected right to the side here that will maintain the charge as needed. I'll do more of the inside afterwards, so that I use that to charge my phone, to run my CB radio. I also have some extra connections on there if needed to charge whatever I need to charge. The FJ also is a all-wheel drive 6-speed manual. The automatics don't come with the full-time 4-wheel drive system. This is a system I do prefer. This is the same type of system that is in the full-size Land Cruiser or in the limited edition of the 4Runner. I think it's a little bit better system, so that in case I have variable weather conditions on the road, I don't have to actively think about putting my vehicle in 4-wheel drive or 2-wheel drive. It is constantly in 4-wheel drive with a center locking Torsen differential, plus a locking rear differential. Also has 8-track. A rooftop tent. The rooftop tent is not a very expensive one. It was about $1,000 or so Canadian, maybe 1,200. Underneath that, I have some knockoff Max tracks. This is not because I think these are better in any way. It's just what I could afford for the trip I was going on. So here's a bit of a better look on the MPPE device that controls the battery charge of my secondary battery in the front. I have it connected to a 12-volt output adapter here, so this one here will run my CB radio. Now, the reason why I had a CB radio is because when I went up north, there are no telephone lines or no cell phone signal, so I needed something to be able to communicate with people. Oops, sorry about that. I needed a way to communicate with people in case I broke down or if I had any sort of issues. This is just a simple one I got on Amazon. I can't remember. It came with the solar panel that's 100 watts on the roof, and it does its purpose. It shows me how much I'm charging in, how much I'm using through these guys here, and the temperature, which is kind of handy and helpful. Because this is a 2007, I don't know if newer ones have, I added a Bluetooth adapter that goes into the auxiliary port. That's so that I can hear anything on my phone. I can have hands-free. All of the audio works through the speaker system, and it makes it a lot easier for me to use my telephone when needed while driving. Yes, I don't keep it very neat and tidy in here, but it is very, very functional. Over here is where I keep my phone. I can just place it on top of here. I can also charge it, of course, with the solar power that is connected to my auxiliary battery. Back onto the driver's side, I have a trickle charging solar adapter for my main battery. Now, the reason why I have that is because sometimes it can get very, very cold in the northern latitudes, and it can put a strain on my battery. I have this trickle charging my main battery all the time. There's always some sort of drain on the battery anyway, so if I have it sit for a while, for a week or so, I will always have some sort of charge going on to my main battery. On top of that, because it's an older vehicle, I don't have GPS internal on the system. I added a simple Garmin GPS. If I am in the northern latitudes and I don't have cell phone data, I need some way to be able to navigate or at least get back home. I also have a reversing camera that I added. It's a wireless system because the FJ is kind of difficult to look out the back. It has very large C-pillars, but this, just putting it in reverse, was a very simple install. I just had to connect it to one of my reversing lights for power. I put it to reverse and it automatically turns on, and I can see behind me as I'm backing out. I want to have access to a toilet wherever I go, but I don't necessarily want to always have to find the woods or dig a pit, and so I use this shower as a toilet area where I use a bucket filled with garbage bags. You can check out this other video to get some more information about that. So that's the adventure vehicle that I made for my trip to Caniapiscau. It's a long trip in a remote area, and I wanted to make sure that I would make it out safely, and it worked very, very well. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments below.